That's right, baby. It's been 5 long years. I took a 4-year break from playing competitive Pokemon, and I'm back, and I'm loving every second of it. I'm number one on the ladder. Volcanion is grand. This right here, that's me. Was there any doubt about it at all, ever? I mean, come on. I am the best. I'm the best. I cut out a part of my last video. Play the clip, Vig. Because right now, until OOT, I don't know where to watch actual good OU gameplay. I think your best bet is honestly Storm Zone versus Volcanius Grand on the ladder. Okay, I might be self-glazed. I think that's where the best games are gonna take place. You know, I wanted to seem humble. Okay, I thought it would take away from the point of my video if I just said, "Oh, I'm the best player," when I have nothing to back that up. Well, I got something to back it up now. So you better keep watching this video because I'm going to show you the best team in the world right now and the best 2 players going at it 3 separate times on the ladder. I'm going to show you the team building process that went into constructing the best team on the ladder. Alright, so here's the team that made me number 1 in the entire world. We've got the Garganator, Gargonicle, Dr. Garg, giving the Salt Cures to his opponents. So if you don't know about Garg, the move Salt Cure, it's a pretty weak move to go off the bat, but then it does 1/8 of the opponent's max HP with his double leftovers every turn, and if it's steel or a water type, it does a fourth of their entire max HP at the end of every turn, a crazy amount. And hey, guess what the 2 best defensive types in the game are? It's steel and water! Salt Cure is like that good old Canadian healthcare, where the cure for depression is dying. So the way this Pokemon works is that it stays in as long as it possibly can, Salt Curing your opponent's team, and using Protect and Recover to stay on the field as long as possible, Stealth Rock to keep up hazards for the opponent's team to make switching even harder for them. Because if you don't switch on Garg, you're just going to lose them on to Salt Cure. So you have to switch around on Garg. Purifying Salt, which is Garganicle's ability, it halves the ghost damage, and it means it cannot get status. This guy is absolutely insane. This is my first team that I've really tried to build around Garg, and I'm so impressed with him. He is absolutely amazing right now. And now we've got Weezing Galar. I think he's in like NU, but this is a fantastic Pokemon in OU, folks. I'll go over what it does more when I go over the team building thing, because I could just talk about this guy forever. He is so good right now. You would have no idea if you just look at the viability chart. We have Will-O-Wisp, burn all the physical attackers, max defense, as you can see. So this thing will live a +1 Roaring Moon attack. It'll live a King Gambit, super effective Iron Head. Who else can say they can live a super effective King Gambit attack from... It doesn't matter how many fallen, because your ability doesn't work. Because neutralizing gas means your ability just doesn't work for anybody. Golden Go, I can burn that. I can defog on that. Weezing Galar is just absolutely fantastic. Versus opponents' teams with Garg, who this team is super weak to, by the way. You just Will-O-Wisp them. We got a little bit of Strange Team. Now, this isn't exactly the best signature move in the game. 95 accuracy is just, why did they even make it like this? But it's as strong as like a flamethrower, and it can confuse. If this Pokemon had Moonblast, I'd be using it, folks, but it doesn't, so we have to run Strange Team. That when this team is strange, they gotta buff this signature move, folks. 95 accuracy on this move when it's not even that good is nonsense. As you can see with Weezing Galar's abysmal HP pool, Pain Split is a good move, so it can be a really decent way to heal yourself while also doing a bit of damage to your opponent's team. I can't believe he's made a reappearance, folks. On my last team that hit number 1 over 5 years ago. Guess who is with me right there? And guess who's with me right now? That's right, it's Corviknight, baby. He is back again, once again, bringing me to number one. I am a total Corv margin. This Pokemon is always good and will probably always be good. I decided to put Brave Bird Body Press on it. Brave Bird does a lot of damage, kills Ogerpon pretty decently. I do not like that thing switching in. Plus, this set will be able to hold on against Terra Ghost Gambit, which I've seen picking up a little bit recently. So we run Iron Defense to wall all physical attackers. Roaring Moon, Dragon Dance, I don't care about that, just Iron Defense. Zamazenta, I don't care about that, Iron Defense on you as well. And then, of course, Ruse to keep Corviknight at max HP. I mean, they nerfed Corviknight a little. Honestly, I think they might have nerfed Recovery specifically from Corviknight. He was so disgusting in Gen 8 with 16 Ruse PP because he just stalled out your opponent's moves. And next, we got the Palter Shelter, folks. We're going with the old-fashioned balance set for Dragapult. We have Will-O-Wisp to burn any such switch-ins. So Slowking Galar, Ting-Lu, any nonsense. We burn them. We've got the Darts, one of the strongest dragon moves in the game that has no drawback, so obviously it's goated. And then we have Hex. So this is a bit of a mixed attacker, which is a bit rare you see in Pokemon. However, Dragapult does this extremely well because his dual stabs are so annoying to switch into, especially with you turn around it out, keep up momentum, switch around on them, wear down its checks over time. Next, we got Slowking Galar. Now, I went through a few versions of this team, specifically teching Slowking Galar. The biggest problem with the previous version of this team, which you're going to see later in the video when I play Storm Zone like 3 times, is that non-AV Slowking simply cannot handle Golden Go. It simply cannot handle Iron Moth well. Those Pokemon were very, very threatening to this team, so I opted for an Assault Vest on Slowking Galar. Once I realized Weezing's game as a default, I realized that was actually pretty good. I could reliably keep up spikes from stacking up on me. So Future Sight waits 2 turns to hit, which is fantastic if you Future Sight and then switch out to like Samurott and Dragapult. Just fire off an attack. Sometimes your opponent will have to sack a Pokemon because they cannot switch into a Dark move plus Future Sight. We've got Sludge Bomb here. This is a threat in Ogerpon. It's to be annoying. It's to poison all of the fat Pokemon that would try to switch into Slowking Galar. It is a fantastic move to put on Slowking Galar. And now I put Flamethrower on the Slowking Galar. Now the reason I did that is because I lost a game to Nasty Plot Recover, Make It Rain, Golden Go. That made me have an existential crisis that I lost to that garbage set. So I have changed my Slowking Galar to be Assault Vest Flamethrower, specifically for that. Now, last move, they tell you on the thing to use Psyshock to beat Raging Bolt. However, I want to relay something a little bit spicy. So you see, the way to beat Raging Bolt is you poison it with this move. I don't give a shit about Psyshock. I don't care at all about Psyshock. I poison it with Sludge Bomb. That's how you play the game, folks. Psychic Noise prevents opponents from recovering when I attack with this move for 2 turns. That is hugely important versus opposing Garganacles, other such fat Pokemon that be annoying and try to heal on my Slowking Galar. And next, we got the GOAT, Hisuian Samurott, with the most broken move in the entire game, Ceaseless Edge. You have Razor Shell, who I think is over 100 base power. This is a crazy strong Pokemon. Next, you got Flip Turn to just switch out and do a little bit of chip damage and switch out. And then I put Knockoff on Samurott to knock off items. There's no real discussion about that one. That's one of the best moves in the game. So he has 2 of like the top 5 moves in the game. He's pretty good. Pretty good. I opted for a Scarf on Hisuian Samurott. I think it's the best item you can run Samurott right now because realistically, you're clicking one move of Samurott and switching out because Tusk outspeeds you, in fact. The Scarf also lets it get more Ceaseless Edge opportunities by outspeeding Ghost types and then Ceaseless Edging them, or just any fast Pokemon in general. Hisuian Samurott can probably kill them pretty easily. Welcome to the Storm Zone! A historied ladder rivalry spanning 3 generations. Both players known for using innovative and sometimes downright weird sets that just work, made a name for themselves in Generation 7. They became titans of Generation 8. However, their peak dominance never took place at the same time. The rivalry was always one-sided during Generation 8. When Volcanius Good peaked early in Generation 8, Storm Zone was nowhere near him. When Storm Zone peaked after the last DLC released in Generation 8, Volcanius Good evaporated from the competitive scene. Now, both are back. Storm Zone, the top Generation 9 player overall. Until now, challenged by Volcanius Good once again, 4 whole years later, the continuation of one of the greatest ladder rivalries in all of Pokemon history. So let's go back to the ladder graphic for a little bit. You can see me at number 1. You can see Storm Zone at number 2. Number 3, Storm Zone. Number 4, that's Storm Zone, baby. And number 5, I don't know who he is. It might be Storm Zone. I have no idea. But you can see that this guy has a pretty tight grip on the top of the ladder. Alright, so let's get started with the game. So this is the old version of this team, which is gonna matter for one thing. You see Iron Moth there? When I told you I changed Slowking Galar to beat Iron Moth? Yes, this is one of the reasons I changed it. Because Iron Moth is Terra Ghost in this matchup, and it will threaten a 6-0 pretty easily. Because with a sub up in Terra Ghost, I cannot really threaten it. So let's see how this plays out. So my game plan with Slowking Galar, which is actually not a real Iron Moth answer, is the Future Sight, then sack into Iron Moth and hope it dies a Future Sight he doesn't Terra. That relies on him basically choking and not terroring. However, Pokemon gives you, 2 minutes to make a decision. Not everyone's going to make the perfect decision every single time. They don't know my team. They don't know what exactly will eat my team. So yeah, he has to go Kingambit on the Future Sight, so I just go for a Salt Cure to bring Kingambit down. Next, he brings in Ogerpon. I go for Stealth Rocks. I just straight up Terra Fairy Garganacl. I want Ogerpon out of here immediately because Ogerpon is highly, highly threatening to my team. Luckily, my team is pretty... We're not going to see Ogerpon come in that much. So I kind of unlucky here. I went to Weezing Galar over like anything else. I didn't notice that he was red card now. It's the first game of 3. We played the exact same teams, by the way. Well, except for a little change that my opponent made that will take place in the 3rd game. So I bring out Garganacl. I'm pretty sure this thing's not Sludge Wave because they almost never run it. And my suspicions are correct, as he goes hard Iron Moth, reads a Stealth Rock, that's Storm Zone. That's one of the plays that a top level player will know to make. He knows that I want to get up rocks immediately, and he knows to take advantage of that, not let a Pokemon get sacked for no reason. He brings in Iron Moth, gets the booster up with one of his most threatening Pokemon. He's going to get a sub on my Garganacl. However, I am prepared for this. So I go for Salt Cure here, intending to damage Substitute, because I didn't actually explain my ability on Dragapult, but it's actually Infiltrator. So I know that I can go through the Substitute. All I have to hope is that Dragapult will live any attack this Iron Moth will throw out. So I got hard Dragapult here, expecting him to Substitute here with 100% certainty. Because obviously, I mean, who wouldn't Substitute there? It's a free Substitute. I was going to Salt Cure. So you get up a Substitute. I have to Salt Cure or switch out. So it's a free Substitute, right, guys? So this brings him down to 50. And I know, because Dragapult is strong, that Dragon Darts is going to kill this thing to the Substitute. But my opponent, he doesn't know that. These things run Clear Body a lot of the time. He has no idea what Dragapult I'm running. So he goes for Fiery Dance, thinking he can live behind the sub. But no, he just dies. He just dies to Dragapult with a Pokemon pretty easily with a 6 out of me. Next, he brings out Iron Valiant. So I go hard Weezing Galar. Because I don't really care about Weezing Galar. I don't care about Weezing Galar in this matchup. Defog, I don't even really need to defog. You're not going to be able to switch that much. I trust Weezing to wall Iron Valiant, so I Strange Team, not expecting him to switch, because now he loses the booster speed on Valiant. So I trade Weezing Galar for losing booster speed on Valiant. This is pretty huge, as now I can get a Ceaseless Edge up again. This time killing Glamora on the switch in, meaning he can no longer switch in. So I go Gark here, expecting physical Valiant based on the knockoff damage, and I am proven correct as Swords Dance comes out. And I wonder if I go for Recover or I just go straight for the Sulk here. No F's given. Die to CC there, but hey, that's okay. This thing is a huge threat to me, but I know that Dragon Ball can kill this thing. So I go for Hex there on the Valiant because it would kill it. And I was fine if Gamma came in, actually, because now Gamma's at a super low HP. I consider this thing to be the biggest threat remaining to my team, so I was absolutely fine if he just went to Gamma right there. It's taking rocks, it's taking spikes, it's taking Hex. I am perfectly fine with that happening. I didn't have to read a Will-O-Wisp here, which is what, if you're trying a little bit too hard, you might Will-O-Wisp there, but I'm going to tell you that is definitely the wrong play. You are in an advantageous position. It is time to play a little bit conservatively. So I'm going to U-turn here. I just had to play conservatively, and I made one of the most aggro plays you're going to see. But I'm 100% sure he's not sucker punching there. Who sucker punches a Will-O-Wisp Dragon Ball? He knows it has Will-O-Wisp. He's seen Hex. I know that he knows that I have Will-O-Wisp. So I know that he's just going to attack straight up. So I U-turn here in the Corp, get extra damage onto King Gambit. And next, I'm looking at the opponent's team, and I'm like, Corviknight looks really good right now. So I keep it healthy. I keep it healthy. Next, we bring out Slowking Galar. This is one game where the boots kind of didn't do anything at all, actually. I was going to say it mattered there, but no. This is actually Specs Kyurem on HO, which I think is an amazingly interesting tech. No one expects Specs Kyurem on HO. They're all going to expect it to be DD. They should get a free kill on a Corviknight that wants to come in and scout it out. Fantastic lure by Relic Stone, but it will not work on me because I am not about to get Storm Zoned. Storm Zone sacks Glamora, but this game is all but over, folks. This game is all but over. Brings back out King Yara. I'm not going to risk Paul here. I'm just going to go straight to my boy Corviknight. And this game, the King Gambit dies to Hazards right now. He's no threat. Dies to Body Press right there. He has to stay in. If he switches out, that thing would have died to Hazards. So all I have to do is keep Corv. I believe I go Hammerot. Correct. Even if he freeze rise, I don't care. I don't care if he kills Hammerot at this point. I know that Pulse and Corviknight can both win. So I just go for darts, taking out Kyurem. Storm Zone, gentlemanly, gives the forfeit when he knew he would lose because Dragon Ball kills the remaining two without breaking a sweat. So it's on to the second game that we played each other on the ladder. This second game, I was locked in. I knew for sure that if I was going to get number one anytime soon, this would be the team to do it. This team is actually amazing. Okay, so you're going to notice that it's the same teams, and they are, in fact, the exact same teams. No one changed anything. So we're going to see how the top two players, 1 and 2, are going to play with the same teams facing each other the second time. So we see a Kyurem lead into Gark. Already knows I like to lead off Gark and just Terror Raid immediately. That's a common Vig strategy. I think it's one of the most underrated. People are like, you never want to waste your Terra. I'm saying like waste. I want to get it out of the way. I want to Terra my Pokemon, make it as strong as possible right off the bat. Go for another Sulk here, not even bothering to have rocks. I want to take out Kyurem from the game as quickly as possible. I know it does a lot to my Slowking Galar. Notice that last game. I obviously go for the most broken move in the game, Ceaseless Edge, knowing that even if he Mortal Spins me, I'm already poisoned. I don't care. So he gets up rocks here, and then I go for another Ceaseless Edge, getting him another layer of spikes. And next, you already know what I do against Iron Valiant. So Iron Valiant in, I mean, you already know what's going to happen here. This is Galarian Weezing. This is an Iron Valiant. You're no threat to me. You are no threat to me. Let's hit him with the strange steam, with the boom, bam, bam, bow, bam. When the steam is strange. Now it's time for the biggest threat is in. The biggest threat just revealed itself. I have to go hard Slowking Galar, and I know that the same play is not going to work right. I have to rely on something else besides surprise Dragapult kill. I have to rely on something else. So what I do here is I play a Future Sight into Hammerot Gambit. Okay, so this is the biggest threat on the team, folks. I know that I have to play this differently than I did it last game. I know that he is ready for Dragapult to be Infiltrator. He is not gone us up yet. This is 84. Dragapult cannot kill from here. I have to do this a different way. So we go for Future Sight instead. That is how I plan to beat this instead. Future Sight. Then I Chili out, barely staying alive. And next I bring out Samurott. So you might be saying, why did I go Samurott here? Well, Samurott is a sacrificial pawn. So a few things can happen here. Storm Zone can substitute, pick a Ceaseless Edge, which will break the substitute, then die to Future Sight. Or he can Terra Ghost, kill Samurott, and take a Future Sight and then win the game. So I just have to hope that Storm Zone accepts my offering of Samurott and does not Terra right this turn. Luckily, we make it out alive as Storm Zone is not Terra and then dies to Future Sight. I'm thanking my lucky stars. So I know this is Specs. So I go for Dragon Darts, thinking that if it did not kill, he would waste a Terra. And if he wasted Terra, I'm kind of fine with it. I can kind of be the last two if he didn't tear that. This time, because I knew after last game that he might think I'd go for a U-turn, and I don't really care about Dragapult that much. I kind of trust Garg, I kind of trust Corviknight, I kind of trust Weezing Galar to be able to handle King Gambit plus Ogerpon, and I'm not worried at all about the Glimora at like a 1%, which is definitely losing to Corviknight. So I just Will-O-Wisp the biggest threat to my team, which is King Gambit, and neuter it. Next, we bring out Corviknight, and I just go for Iron Defense, and I think I clean up the game pretty easily. Yeah, go for Iron Defense and the Glimora. Switch out, not even risking anything. Go for the darts. So I switch out to Dragon Ball, not even risking anything. I mean, I didn't really have to happen. I don't think he could have done anything to Core, but I mean, a crit cudgel could have in theory killed me there. Didn't care about Dragon Ball at that point because I know the way to win the game. You just go Corviknight, use Iron Defense, it beats the last two pretty easily. So let's yeah. 20 turns, pretty much an easy clinical victory. As soon as Iron Moth died, this game was Jover. Go for the Braver right off the bat, not even letting him get a chance, because Ivy Cudgel is a high critical hit ratio move. You got to think about what will lose you the game. And Ruse could have lost you the game. It could have been Encore. I don't know what the Ogerpon set is. So I just attacked and killed it. So he reveals Terra Ghost now. I am not afraid. I have Braver. I have Rocky Helmet. This is no threat to me. This game is officially over. As soon as he Sucker Punches, get a little bit of chip off. Of course, Corviknight sends him to have a good night. But this one, you can see my badge. The latter's update, I am top 3 in Giant Overused. All I have to do is win this game, and I am number 1 on the ladder. So this is the last of the 3 games that I have for us with the exact same teams. So I did not change a single thing, but Storm Zone did. So I kind of got C-teamed by the best player, or former best player, the best player a week ago on the ladder. And this is what ended up happening. But I knew that I was in for a world of hurt. I knew I could not rely on Storm Zone to choke like he did last game. I had to figure out a whole new way to BS my way through the game. But I knew that it would be a long shot to win this third one. I knew that Iron Moth was such a threat. So I lead off with Garg, as per usual. So I Terra Garg turn 1, which I realize is a colossal blunder after the game. Even the best players on the ladder will make mistakes. You saw Storm Zone make a mistake. You saw me make a mistake in this game. Terra Fairy Garg is not worth it for the third matchup. I need a Terra to beat Iron Moth. Now, in this game, I'm staying way too long as Iron Valiant because I assume that it's no threat. Because last game, it did not really hit me with any move Freezing Guard. But this game, he reveals Ice Punch, which did not come out last game. He might have changed it. He might have just not clicked it last game. I have no idea. But I did not expect Ice Punch at all from this Valiant because we played 2 other times. I didn't see that. But eventually, I do get rid of Iron Valiant here. So I get rid of Iron Valiant, and then Glamora comes in. I obviously want to keep my Garg healthy, so I just go for a cover. And I believe I just Salt Cure this thing. Perhaps it's a bit of misplay. I kind of need the rocks to stay up. But I knew this thing did have a red card, so I could just attack it and switch out. Corviknight went for Brave Bird, hoping to catch the Iron Moth on his switch in to Body Press, hoping that the opponent would throw the game. Of course, Storm Zone is way too good to just throw away his win con like that. Gets a lucky crit, proving the allegation Storm Zone is a lucky piece of garbage correct yet again. Now, I know that he's locked into Ice Beam there, so that Samrock can come in, resist an attack, and get up Ceaseless Edges, which would be huge. So I kill Iron Valiant with a Ceaseless Edge, getting about a Spike, which I hope will be important for the game. Go for another Ceaseless, getting him another layer of spikes, hoping to bring down Iron Moth as low as possible. Now, this, I did not want to see this. He brings in Iron Moth here, and I'm devastated. Because I know the game is probably already over. I did not get up anywhere near enough hazards that I need to. I want to get all, this game plan was get up all layers of hazards and try to just beat Moth down because that 50%. That ended up not happening, as you can see. But he actually brought out Moth at my 15% same round, locked in Ceaseless Edge. It just kills me with the Fire Dance. And I know that I'm not going to bullshit my way out of this game. I took a billion years to think of a way to lose or a way to win. So my game plan now is to pray that Fire Dance never raises ever on Garganical, which is, of course, a losing endeavor. And Storm Zone does take the last remaining game because I knew that he did change up his set from the previous games that we fought, or he actually clicked the button that he should have clicked last game, which is Terra Ghost, Terra Blast, which of course it has because it is a ghost type. So this Iron Moth either has Terra Blast, Ghost, or Dazzling Gleam. He didn't reveal Dazzling Gleam in the first game. I thought it was just Terra Ghost. He just didn't click it for whatever reason. The first game, I knew that this thing would kill Dragapult pretty easily. So I just stayed with Gar Cope, and then he reveals the Terra Blast Ghost here, proving my suspicions correct. And then I do end up losing. So the first game, I lost to Storm Zone with this team. Really disheartening, but I knew this was Jover pretty early on. I cannot BS my way out of an unwinnable matchup 3 times in a row. That's just too much against the best player, the former best player in the world. That's asking way, way too much. So after this loss, I was devastated. But did I give up? No, I went back to the team builder and revamped my team to make it even better. So I stream a thing called Guess the Elo every Friday. It's when viewers send games, and I analyze their games, and we watch their plays, and then at the end of the game, I guess their Elo. And that really got me interested because someone sent games, shout out Jay Loco, with Gargonical on offense. It became kind of a meme for this stream where Garg offense was a meme. But I also played a day where I just used viewer teams, and I realized that Garg is actually pretty good. That inspired my interest building around Garganical. So I had to push outside of my comfort zone. This entire generation of Pokemon, I have not built a single good team without using King Gambit. Not a single one until I built this team. So if you ever feel like you're in a rut, you got to talk to other people, see what other people are building, get inspired by other people to get you out of that team building rut. Because you'll just fall on your old habits, use the same Pokemon over and over and over again. And that'll get you like, oh, Gen 9's not that fun. So the first version of this team, so the initial idea behind this team was Garganical plus Weezing. Now the reason that these two work together is that Garganical Salt Cure It does damage to literally everything. The only things that can stop it are Magic Guard. Regenerator mitigates damage by just regenerating it off and switching around Garganical. Gliscor is a big one. Usually walls guard teams because it ends up taking a net zero damage. Gliscor's Toxic Heal Recovery it exactly ties Salt Cure, so it will not actually be taking any passive damage from Salt Cure. So you have to Salt Cure it as an attack to wear it down. That just doesn't work versus stall teams over a period of time. But you know what shuts all of that down? Weezing will stop Magic Guard, so if you're a Magic Guard Pokemon, you stay in versus Guard, you get Salt Cured, I switch to Weezing, now you're taking damage every single turn. I burn you, you're taking even that damage every single turn. A regen Pokemon comes in, you try to switch out to get your regen, nope, you don't have regen anymore. I neutralize and gas your regen, you come in at the same HP that you left. Versus Gliscor, Weezing owns Gliscor. Now, people might not know this, but Gliscor's toxic counter, it adds up even though it's not taking any poison damage. So if you wait like 7 turns or whenever, and then switch to Weezing, Gliscor will get 1 hit KO'd from 100 by toxic damage. It is absolutely hilarious. But you should go hard Weezing on Gliscor every single time. Many stall Gliscors cannot even touch Weezing. They're running a lot of spikes, toxic, knockoff, and then protect. Even if they are running Earthquake, it doesn't even do that much damage to this set. Weezing Galar has proven to be a fantastic Pokemon, which I've been so surprised about because I initially thought this team was weak to Hazard. Where I initially put boots on a few of my Pokemon because I thought this team would be weak to Hazard. That ended up to not be the case because Weezing Galar can stop all spikes going up. Because Weezing Galar can come in on Ting Lu, it can Will-O-Wisp it, and then defog it. You cannot stop Weezing Galar's defog. It's impossible. Good's Goal does not work versus Weezing's defog. And it also comes in on Hisui Samurott because it resists Ceaseless Edge. It takes not that much damage from Razor Shell because at its core, Samurott is not really that strong a Pokemon. It just has broken moves. So that was the core of the team I put together. Now I had to round it out. I chose Corviknight here because I know that Weezing Galar is hit by Steel. It's hit by Ground super effectively. So I covered Weezing Galar with Corviknight. I thought that would be the best play. Corviknight I think is probably the best physical wall in all of OU right now. Corviknight just has such a fantastic typing. It's one of the few Gambit counters in the game, which I knew I needed something to actually beat Gambit if I was going to run. The initial team had Water Guard, but I changed it to Fairy Guard. Next, I actually chose Ting Lu for the initial version of this team. I knew I wanted to stack Spikes with Garg because I wanted to make Garg as tough as possible to switch into. So the initial game plan was get up hazards and then bring in Garg and just keep looking Salt Cure so they take Spikes and Rocks every time they try to switch around. Just does not go well for them. They just start dying slowly to Spikes. And I whirlwind them out. Just a lot of passive damage. Still like Dragapult in the initial version of the team. And then I rounded off with Tornadus because I wanted something faster than Ogerpon that also kind of did well versus like a fatter team. And I needed a Pokemon to distribute knockoffs. I decided Taunt because I thought I would taunt the counters to Tornadus, lower them down over the period of the game. I think I really need a U-turn on this thing. I went Heat Wave to let Gambit not switch into me. To hit Corviknight well. This said Tots and Heat Wave's Corviknight prevents it from defogging on it. But I realized quickly that Tornado is actually a bad Pokemon. That became very apparent early on to using this team. And I also don't like Ting Lu in the current metagame. I just don't think it's that good at its job anymore. Like Spikes, Ruinate. It feels like people over prep for Ting Lu, so it's not that good in the current metagame anymore. So this team dropped me down to 1700s. So I lost 200 ladder points or so. From my 15 peak with Keldeo, I fell down out of the top 100 with this team. But you know what? I didn't give up. I thought the idea of Gar Weezing was a good idea. And you know what? That part was working. So I kept at it. I kept building, changed the team around. When your first idea does not work, if it has a glimmer of hope, just keep trying. Just keep trying and building. So the second version of this team. It's got Garg, it's got Weezing, it's got Corviknight, it's got Dragapult. Oh, and you notice, look who made it. The final two members. So this version, I have Slowking Galar with Toxic, Sludge Bomb, Future Sight, Chili Reception. This is my favorite set that I like to put on a lot of different teams because it keeps up offensive pressure pretty well. I love the Chili Reception Regenerator. This is such a fantastic set usually. So we have Toxic for Raging Bolt specifically. Also very annoying to switch into. Future Sight, Sludge Bomb, Future Sight, Chili Reception into Samron Hisui, and just get a Sleep Sedge. That's the initial game plan behind this team. It worked out fantastically. This team pushed me to 2000s. This version of the team pushed me to 2000s. I think this is a reasonable version of the team to be using. The notable flaw is obviously Iron Moth and Golden Gale. You have to address that with this team, I feel. Which is kind of impossible. You could make this Water Guard. I found Fairy Guard just be overall better. But for this specific build of the team, I think you would need Water Guard to make this build work. Because Water Guard can kind of handle Iron Moth. It can kind of handle Golden Gale. If it kind of does both, it should be decent enough versus that. This team had just a few flaws that the latter was able to exploit and just be annoying. One of the reasons I want to use Weezing Galar plus Garganical is that I think it just destroys stall immediately. That's what really pissed me off on a ladder. Because you know what stopped me from getting #1 with my Keldeo team? It wasn't my own skill. It wasn't anything that had to do with the meta. It was people bringing Toxapex stall versus my Keldeo team, so Keldeo could not get a kill, and that ruined the entire team structure. There's no way I could play around that. There's no way I could fix the team to accommodate for that. They were just using UU Pokemon that you can't cover everything, but too many people at high ladder are using Toxapex stall, so I brought something to just destroy that. So Garg and Weezing absolutely ruin stall. As I said before, Weezing Galar absolutely destroys Gliscor. It cannot recover on it, and it can defog on Gliscor's spike. So it completely removes Gliscor from the game, which is a huge part of stall. And stall essentially needs Gliscor to take on Soul Cures from Garganical, especially with knockoffs and Season's Edges coming up from Hisui and Samron. So I realized that the Moth matchup, the Golden Go matchup, they were way too weak. So did I scrap the entire team? No. I said, how can I fix this? How can I make my team better? So how can I handle threats capable of beating my team better? So I end up running the Assault Vest Slowking Galar, which ends up being the difference maker. This set is really, really good on this team because I had to run. I wanted to run Boots and Slowking Galar because I wasn't sure how I could handle hazards that well with this team. Because my defogger here was a NU Pokemon. I didn't trust that thing. And I needed some form of regeneration to have any chance as a fat team. So I wanted kind of a little bit of boot spam. Not total boot spam because I think total boot spam is just bad. But I do think Boots Regenerator is very, very good in general. However, playing through with the other team, I noticed that I can rely on Weezing to just defog away spikes if they count up. I can handle rocks perfectly fine. It's that if spikes go up, that's the threat. And Weezing Galar can defog away spikes reasonably well, which leaves me confident enough to put Assault Vest on Glowking, increasing its special defense by 1.5 times, but it can only use damaging moves. So the synergy of this team is actually pretty insane. If I just built the initial version of the team, be like, I lost 200 elo, I'm tilted, this team is dog shit, it's gone, get out of my face, then that would have been it. I would have stuck down in the 1700s and nothing would have changed. I would have kept using the Keldeo team. No, I actually know that team works, That team works. I just can't get #1 because of stall. But you know what? I went building and then I didn't stop. Don't stop until you're on top. This is probably the most optimized a team can ever be. I'm Fairy on Garganical. I just like Fairy on Garganical. People are not prepped for bulky Fairy types, maybe because they don't exist in overuse currently. People will say Clef, but Clef is not bulky. Have you looked at its stats? Let's look at Garg's stats compared to Clef. So Garg is boasting 100 base HP solid and 130 defense, 10 lower than Skarmory, and better bulk than Corviknight, who was famously bulky. And let's look at Clef, huh? Let's look at Clefable. Oh, wow. Would you look at that? A horrendous 9573 bulk. That's almost half of Garg. It's this Pokemon is embarrassing. This Pokemon is embarrassing. People don't prep for fat fairy types because they don't need to. That's why I like Fairy Garg over Water Garg. People don't prep for fat fairy types. They have nothing really for them. King Gambit is very well dealing with them, but he's no one who can Assault Cure ever. I'll tell you that much. You're gonna notice from this team as a fat team, Ogerpon, a noted threat for any bulky team. It can't come in on anybody, folks. Not a single Pokemon is letting in Ogerpon easily. Gargus Terra Fairy, Cure. That'll do a bunch of damage to Ogerpon. We have Will-O-Wisp, Weezing, Galar, Strange Team. Ogerpon's not coming in on Weezing. Corviknight has Braver, takes out Ogerpon, no problem, wins the 1v1. Dragapult, of course, Ogerpon does not want to come into it. Sometimes you can go Dragapult on Ogerpon instead. Soaking Galar, obviously, you don't want to take a Sludge Bomb, you don't want to take a Psychic Noise, you don't want to take any of this guy's moves, really, with Ogerpon. If you come in a Future Sight, maybe you have a little bit of play, but realistically, not want to bring an Ogerpon. Soaking Galar. And of course, Samurott, I'm going for Caesar's Edge, because we never stop edging, folks. I was so nervous going to this game. I knew that no matter where my opponent was rated, this would be the game to win number one. All I need was 5 points to get to number one. And you can see my opponent is actually top 100 in this game. This was not going to be a free win. My opponent is a very heat team, did not really prep at all for Hands, Rillaboom, Gengar. None of the Pokemon were considered into the team building. Veil looked a little bit scary for me. But I knew going into the game that I have a good shot to win. Garganacl super annoys this guy's team. So I was just going to play hard and fast, and I was just going to pull this one out. I was shaking a little bit going into this game. I'm not going to lie. I had to win this game. It was do or die. So let's get right into the game. So here, I was a little bit concerned. He let off with the Rillaboom instead of Ninetales. I'm like, okay, I can just go to Corviknight and we'll play it like that. Because I'm not going to take Abandoned Woodhammer. I don't even protect the Scout. Because I don't want to show him that I have Protect. Which is a play you might play at higher levels. So just confuse your opponent. Maybe he thinks I got Iron Defense. Maybe he thinks I got Curse. So I just fire off a Brave Bird here, trying to catch a Stan. I'm just kind of scouting it out. I didn't know if he'd go Bolt. I thought it would be Booster under Veil, but it turned out to be like Boots or something. That's another reason I was so glad to have AB Glowking for this game. Yeah, because Assault Vest Glowking is going to take no damage from Raging Bolt throughout the entire game. I'm at no real threat from Raging Bolt. I just need to stop the Volt turn cycle. He's kind of got me in with Rillaboom and Raging Bolt just coming in every other turn, not letting me get off a move because I have no ground type to stop this Volt Switch. He goes Tusk here, and I know that he's not going to click a ground type move. So I go into my Garg. I think I scout out Volt Switch. This could be That's Specs damage, actually. I thought it was Boots. It's actually Specs damage. It's a good thing I protected to scout that one out. I believe I protect... No, I go Hard to Glow King. Interesting. Brings out Great Tusk. Now, this time, I do go Garg again. And he catches me with a Headlong Rush. I was so sure he was going to spin or something that I went straight into my guy and lost it. Now, at this point in the game, I was feeling so down. I'm like, no, there's no way that happened. But you know what? I got Rocks up. So he can no longer do his Volt Turn BS on me, and I know this. So I bring out Hammerot, and I just go for a Razor Shell. Do not let him get any momentum on my Ceaseless Edge. Because he has very, very little switch-ins to Razor Shell, which I noticed. So he brings out Rillaboom, and obviously I go to Corviknight. Hard wall to Rillaboom in every scenario. Brings out the Raging Bolt, and I am not scared of this thing still. Still have the Glow King. But I'm kind of feeling the pressure. It's 5-5, but I lost one of my favorite Pokemon on this team. Garg is what the team's built around. I do not let him get a spin again. I go hard into Samurott, not letting him get any momentum back, and just firing off another Razor Shell. Now he's wasted the Grassy Seed. I'm not concerned about this Iron Hands at all. I go hard to my Weezing Galar. Nothing he can really go into on Weezing Galar would be that annoying. A Wisp on Raging Bolt would be absolutely huge. So I end up Wisping the Iron Hands, and I believe I get almost like a lot of HP back with this pain split. Because Weezing Galar, as we went over, has horrendous HP. So you can gain so much back through a pain split. Yes, and unfortunately lives at 1 HP, but Weezing Galar does win the 1v1 as they both die. Which is fine for me. So I bring in Dragapult here, expertly catching almost anything he did, Dragapult was going to be good against. I Terra Dragon there, not risking Tusk coming in and being able to wall me. So Tusk comes in here. I go for the Will-O-Wisp, not letting him do anything with this Stray Tusk. This Stray Tusk is now neutered for the entire game, and I am very, very happy with this. Dragapult, I can just stay in here and get a kill. Goes for bulk up, is slower after the spin. This game is looking over. I'm already celebrating. I'm like, yes, let's go. My opponent's already said GG in the chat. He knows the game's over. I know the game's over, and I am so pumped. I dart here. Don't even care if he Terra Fairies. I have a Glow King. It does not matter. I just go to Glow King here and I Sludge Bomb. There's no way to lose from this position. And my opponent is go hard Rillaboom, hopes for some sort of choke, but nope. Go for a hard Sludge Bomb, and Slowking Galar will pull this game out. Thank you for the AVs to Slowking Galar. It has been so valuable for this game. Look at that tremendous damage. I go for Cyanoids there to prevent him from healing from grassy terrain so that I know Samurott flip turn will kill even if I get crit pair at the next turn. Let's fucking Garg! And that's the game that got me to #1 on the ladder. Was it a perfectly played game? Absolutely not. But I played to keep my opponent guessing the entire matchup. And it ended up paying off in a huge way, and that game put me over the edge. And I finally dethroned Storm Zone from the top 1 position. Thank you guys for watching this video. I stream pretty often. If you guys want to watch the best player in the world play, then my Discord is down in the description. Feel free to join, hop in for a stream.